Hello, welcome to my channel. I'm Damali. Today we're diving into AI-driven product development through design thinking. So we're gonna be combining human creativity with generative AI to build smarter, user-focused product. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you never miss an update. Without further ado, let's get started. So what is design thinking? Design thinking is a problem-solving approach that focuses on understanding the needs of users, challenging assumptions, and creating innovative solutions. It's a human-centered process often used in product development, business strategy, and innovations. So it involves five key steps. We have number one, empathize, understand the needs of the problem of users, and then we go ahead to define, clearly state the problem you are trying to solve. And then number three, we ideate. So basically we brainstorm creative ideas and solutions. And then number four, we have the prototype. So we create simple version of the solution to test. And then from prototype, we go ahead and test. So we evaluate the prototype and gather user feedback to improve. So the goal of design thinking is to build products, services, or process that truly meet user needs while encouraging creativity and continuous improvement. So design thinking is an ideology process to solve complex problems in highly human-centered way. So it's a highly human-centered approach that encourages creativity, empathy, and experimentation. So we have human-centered. The process starts with understanding the people you are designing for, and it's also a solution-oriented. It focuses on generating ideas, prototyping, and testing to solve real-world problems. And after that, as I said earlier, iterative process. Design thinking is not a linear. It involves constant testing and refining of ideas. And why does this ideology matters? It helps business teams, individuals solve problems creatively and build solutions that truly meet users' needs. So let's take a look at what famous people say about design thinking. So famous people, number one will be Don Norman. So Don Norman is a highly influential figure in the fields of design, usability, and cognitive science. He's best known for his work on user-centered design and his book, The Design of Everyday Things, which is considered a foundational test in the world of product design and human computer interaction. So the quote here, we must design for the way people behave, not for how we will wish them to behave. So this emphasizes the importance of designing based on our real user behaviors rather than idealistic assumption. So this principle centers to user-centered design, advocates for creating products that align with actual user needs and practices, ensuring they are intuitive and effective. So another famous person that we want to talk about is Edward de Bono. So Edward de Bono was a Maltese physician, psychologist, and author, and a thinker, and he's also best known for his work in creative thinking and innovation. So he's widely recognized for developing the concept of lateral thinking and the six thinking hat technique, both which revolutionize problem solving and decision making process. So Edward's quote here, "There needs to be right all the time is the biggest bar there is to now ideas." So it suggests that the fear of being wrong can inhibit creativity and prevent exploration of novel solutions. So this perspective encourages an open mind approach where mistakes are seen as learning opportunity, essentially for developing original and effective ideas. So he's basically preaches fail faster. That's what Edward de Bono preaches. And then the next person that we want to take a look is people ignore design that ignore people. So Frank Chimero. So Frank Chimero is a designer, writer, and a creativity thinker known for his work on design, creativity, and the interaction of digital experiences and storytelling. He's widely respected in the design community for his thoughtful approach to design and his ability to articulate the role of design in shaping our experiences. So Frank Chimero's quote, "People ignore design that ignore people," emphasizes the importance of human-centered design. It suggests the design regarding users' needs fail to engage and satisfy those who interact with them as well. So why design thinking? Why do we have to use this framework when building AI product or building any product? So people do not always do what you think they do, and people do not always do what you tell them to do. This is very important. So observation and asking why makes you find out what people really do and need. So let's use a framework called the 5 whys method to be able to debug what users really or people really do or need. So the 5 why is a method of problem solving technique used to uncover the root cause of an issue by asking why repeatedly, usually 5 times. And then let's see how the 5 whys method works. Number 1, we identify the problem, start with a clear problem statement, and then ask why the problem occurred. And then you go ahead and ask why again, use the answer from the first why to ask the next why, and repeat up to 5 times. Continue asking why until the root cause is identified, and then you go ahead and take corrective action, address the root cause, not just the surface level issue. So let's take an example of a problem. Users are not engaging with the new AI powered dashboard that you've created. So applying the 5 whys, why are the users not engaging with the dashboard? Number 1 will be because they can find it confusing. And then number 2, you ask why do they find it confusing? And then maybe they might answer it by saying because the layout is cluttered and difficult to navigate. And then you go ahead and ask again, why is the layout cluttered? And then they go ahead and answer by saying because we added too many features without user testing. And then you can go ahead and ask again, why did we do so many features? And then the answer could be because we assume users will need all the available data in one place. And then why did we assume that? And then because we didn't involve users during the development problem. So now we are able to identify the root cause. The root cause identifier is the lack of user involvement during the product development. And the solution here is apply design thinking by focusing on user empathy, conducting user interviews, testing prototypes, and iterative based on feedback. And this will help prevent future overload and improve usability. So what is the key takeaway here? The 5 whys method helps reveal the root cause, not just symptoms, and it aligns perfectly with design thinking, and both emphasize understanding users' pain point and iterative problem solving. Combining this approach with AI driven insight can further enhance design making by identifying data backed issues. So what is design thinking mindset? Let's go ahead and debug the design thinking mindset. So the design thinking mindset, we start by number 1, optimism. So optimism simply means believing in the possibility of finding a solution even in a challenging situations. And then number 2 is human-centeredness. So human-centered, we focus on the needs, behavior, and experiences of the people who will use the solution for. And then number 3, we embrace ambiguity, comfortably navigating through uncertain and unclear aspect of the problem. And then we learn from failure. This is very important, and this is from one of my favorite mindset. You learn from failure, viewing failure as an opportunity to learn and refine ideas. And then we go ahead and make it, creating prototype, tangible forms to explore ideas and iterate. And then now number 6, we go ahead and iterate, continuously refining and improving the solution based on feedback. And then we do collaboration, working together, leveraging diverse perspective for richer result as well. Now let's take a look at traditional thinking versus design thinking. Traditional thinking typically focus on technique, feasible, and logical problem solving within existing paradigm. It often addresses the immediate and obvious needs of users and is oriented towards improving and optimizing existing solutions without fundamentally changing the approach. So the traditional rotary phone is a product of this type of thinking, where enhancements were made on the same basic design, whilst design thinking, on the other hand, centered on user experience, desirability, and possibility beyond the current reality. It involves a deep understanding of users' needs, desires, and user solution based on approach to problem solving. So design thinking encourages innovation by questioning the status quo, exploring new techniques, and experimenting with different solutions. The modern smartphone exemplifies design thinking by integrating various functions, communication, entertainment, information, more into a single device tailored to user behavior and preference. So let's take a look at traditional thinking versus design thinking on a deeper note. So as you can see, approach to risk and failure. So traditional thinking avoid failures and minimize risks. This approach is focused on error prevention and maintaining stability, which often restrict innovation. And then design thinking fail fast, learn quickly, and by encouraging experimentation and tolerating mistake, it accelerates learning and innovation, allows for adaptive solution. And then number 2 is process orientation. Traditional thinking sustain order and adhering to established procedure. This method emphasizes consistency and reliability in outcomes by following predetermined path. So design thinking, on the other hand, embraces taking risk and iterative process. This fosters creativity and flexibility, continually refining ideas through cycles of prototyping, testing, and feedback. Then we also have outcome focus. Traditional thinking get in the right in the first time. The aim is to deliver perfect result on the first attempt, often leading to lengthy planning phases and risk aversion. And whilst design thinking iterates and evolves solution over time, it values progressive improvement, adaptive solution based on real world feedback and changing needs. It's pretty much like an agile, using iterative methods, and then handling uncertainty. So in traditional thinking, certainty is key. Decisions are made based on clear, predictable framework and outcomes, which can limit responsiveness to new information. Whilst design thinking, on the other hand, embrace ambiguity. Comfort with uncertainty allows for more innovation approach to problem solving as new insight and conditions also emerge. So decision makings. Let's talk about decision making, traditional thinking versus design thinking. On the traditional thinking, thinking and logic based decisions that rely on rational analysis, often using quantitative data to inform conclusion and actions to make a decision. While design thinking, doing an emotional engagement, it emphasizes practical experimentation, emotional connection, making solution more human-centered and impactful. And then information preference. In a traditional way, facts and numbers are prioritized. This approach relies heavily on data metrics to guide decisions, sometimes at the expense of qualitative insight. Whilst design thinking, storytelling to communicate, it uses narrative to explore communication and solve problems, making complex information more accessible and relatable. And then we have emotional connection. So in traditional thinking, logic driven, often disregarding the emotional aspect of decision making, which can lead to solutions that are technically sound but fail to resonate with users. And design thinking, we have emotional engaging, ensuring that solution not only solve problem but also connect with users on a personal level, enhancing acceptance and usability. And then we have customization. Traditional thinking Standardization is sought to ensure efficiency and control, leading to a uniform solution that might not meet diverse user needs. Whilst design thinking, humanization of solution by focusing on adapting designs to meet specific human contexts and needs, enhancing user satisfaction and effectiveness. So in the next slide I want to talk about is design thinking is either analytical or intuitive approach. Design thinking is a unique blend of both analytical and intuitive approach, and it integrates the strength of both to create innovation solution to complex problem. So analytical approach, design thinking involves analyze users data, understanding the context deeply, using insights from research to inform the decision process. This aspect of design thinking ensures that the solutions are grounded in real user needs and are viable within the given constraints. And it's also an intuitive approach. Simultaneous design thinking also relies heavily on intuition, especially during the ideation and prototyping phase. And designers uses their creativity instinct to explore possibilities beyond the obvious, experiment with novel ideas, and innovate and freely without the constraint typical imposed by purely analytical process. So design thinking is a combination of divergent and convergent thinking process. So as you can see, we have empathize, define, ideate, and then we prototype, and then after we prototype we go ahead and test, and then we get feedback as well. So it's a divergent and a convergent in that nature. So empathize, this initial phase involves broadening the scope of understanding by gathering rich insight about users' needs, feelings, motivations, behaviors through observation, interviews, surveys, and immersion in their environment. And then after that we go ahead and define. Here the focus narrows down the information collected during empathize phase is analyzed and synthesized. The goal is to define the core problems to be solved in a human-centered and a concise manner. Then we go ahead and ideate. In this ideation stage, the process opens up again to explore a wider array of ideas, solutions that can address the defined problem. And the techniques like brainstorming, sketching, mind mapping are typically used to foster creative thinking and generate numerous possibilities. And then after that we go ahead and prototype. The convergence happens as ideas are transformed into tangible prototypes, and this stage allows the team or whoever you're working with to create a scaled down version of the product or a specified feature within the product to understand the viable of the proposed solution. And then after this, empathize, ideate, and prototype, we go ahead and then test, so we can get some feedback as well. So finally the prototype are tested within the target user groups to gather feedback and insight. And this stage is iterative, meaning that feedback may lead you back to earlier stage to redefine the problem or refine the prototype, and this ensures that the solution evolves based on real user response and can often loop back to any previous stage depending on what the feedback might be or indicate. And this is the design thinking process. We go ahead and empathize, define, ideate, prototype, and then we test and get feedback. So let's take a quick example of design thinking analogy. So let's take a look at the water wheel, reducing the time spent on collecting water in remote areas. Now they are able to use their time in more productive way. So the water wheel, as you can see in the image, is prime example of product development through human-centered design, specifically addressing the practical needs of communities in remote areas. So here is how this innovation allows with design thinking principles. So first, we go ahead and empathize, understanding the daily challenge faced by people, particularly women who traditionally spend several hours daily collecting water for their families, and this involves walking long distance and carrying heavy loads, which in time consuming and physically demanding. So now we go ahead and define. The problem is clearly defined, reducing the time and physical strain required to collect water, which restrict individuals' availability for other productive and activity or rest. So, and then now we can ideate based on now that we define the problem. Innovators brainstorm to conceive various solutions that cloud simplify the task of water collection, and then the idea of water wheel allows for easier transportation of larger quantities of water with less effort compared to traditional methods. And then we go ahead and prototype, designing a robust rolling drum that can be easily filled with water, then roll back home. And this prototype will be iterative, tested and refined based on user feedback to ensure ease of use, durability and predictability in various terrains. And then after we're done, we go ahead and test. The final design is tested at the actual environment where it will be used, and feedback will from the user is crucial at this stage to make any necessary adjustment to the design or functionality of the water wheel. Thank you for watching, and if you find this video useful, don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button.